call. Kristen Davidson's with us today, not Tina. Kristen, you can see who's here. Is there any changes to the agenda? Seeing none, anyone want to make a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Thank you, Kamal. Thank you, Morgan, I think that was.
Juan.
Oh, Juan, sorry. Second by Juan. Discussion, not seeing any. All those in favor? Oh, go
I
ahead.
do want to make a discussion.
Go ahead, Janet.
I've been thinking about what you said about talking about how the effect of what we do has on your elections office. And I don't think that's something we should be discussing because it's not part of the charter or part of what we're supposed to do as the charter review committee.
Okay. Well, duly noted. Duly noted. Any other discussion? Okay, so there was an agreement at the last meeting that we would hear from the elections office about the impact of the redistricting process. So minutes from the December 3rd meeting. Anyone want to make a motion to approve those minutes?
I move to approve.
Thank you, Janet. Second. Thank you, Morgan. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Janet, did you want to make a motion to not have a discussion of elections?
Okay, I'll make it in the form of a motion,
Okay.
not to discuss the effect that what we're doing would have on the Clark County Elections Office,
Okay.
because I don't think it's part of our mission,
Okay.
even though I recognize it does have an effect.
Okay, yep, thank you. Is there a second to that motion? Second to the motion?
Second.
I think I'm supposed to ask 3 times, I think. I don't know. Second to the motion? Oh,
Go
1
on.
second. I'm afraid it dies, Janet, but
Oh, wait, Kamal said something.
No,
What
I
did
did.
Kamal say?
Seconded it. I did.
you did, Kamal? Okay, good. Any discussion of the motion? So I'll make a comment. You're absolutely correct, Janet. There's nothing in state law or the charter that refers to the impact of the redistricting on the elections office. But as you did properly note, it does have a direct impact on the work the elections office does. I guess I'd also note that there's nothing in state law or the charter that talks about the aligning the new districts or the map that's proposed by the redistricting committee. There's nothing in law that references aligning that map with maps that were previously in effect. So in this instance, the map that was just approved by voters a week and a half ago. So I find it to be a relevant subject for discussion, something I would encourage committee members to think about, just as I encourage committee members to think about aligning the new map with the map that the voters just approved. Other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of Janet's motion and not hearing anything from the elections office about the redistricting process, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
2. Is that Janet and Juan, is that right?
Yeah.
Kamal?
Mm-hmm.
And Kamal was an aye as well.
I did.
Oh,
So
okay,
it's-
Hope
all right. Well, Kathy, you're off the hook.
Okay. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks, Hattie. Well,
Greg, in light of that, there is still a pending motion to approve the agenda, and obviously since apparently that, although I don't see that on the agenda, there's anything in there in regards to
Right.
any sort of presentation or anything from the elections office, so I don't
Right.
really need to amend the agenda, but you still
Yeah.
haven't approved the agenda.
yeah, thank you. Thank you for that reminder, Amanda. So there was a motion to approve the agenda. There was second. I think there's time for discussion. All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Kristen, are there any public comments, written or oral, today?
I do not have any written comments, but I do have a couple of callers here. So if you'd like to make a public comment, please press *3 on your phone or if you're logged in through the computer, you can raise your hand in the bottom right of your screen. Okay, I do see someone's hand raised actually. So go ahead and state your name and begin with your comment.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
We can. Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Hi, my name is Terry Niles. I am at first I want to thank the Redistricting Committee for providing an opportunity for me to provide a public comment on the redistricting process and the proposed plans. And thank you for the work. I know this is not easy. In all transparency, I will say that I am a current Charter Review Commissioner, but I am here today not in that capacity, nor do I speak for the Charter Review Commission. Co-Chair Green, I believe, has provided this committee with information around the process that the Charter Review Commission used to draw up the nonpartisan maps that the Clark County voters approved. And I think he's doing a great job, and I commend him for that, for coming here and talking to you about the process that the commission went through. But I am here today as a voter in District 3, and I'm here to express some concerns about what I'm seeing being proposed and discussed. What this committee, from what I understand, is tasked with doing is what the RCW states. And the RCW is very clear, though it is not clear within the charter what happens if this committee should not agree on a map to put forward to the council. The RCW does provide the criteria the committee is supposed to base their decisions on. The question of whether it goes to the council or not, or to courts, should not be a criteria or a consideration by this committee, and that's just my opinion about that as a voter. It was, for me, disconcerting to watch the meetings, particularly the last meeting, and disconcerting that a map that has been submitted by Republican representatives on this committee to accommodate a sitting councilor or to redistrict her into a district. That is clearly not permitted per the RCW and should not be considered and should be strongly admonished. And I thank my fellow for the rest of the commission for doing that. The voters of Clark County just voted on a 5-district map. That map was included in the voters' pamphlet. A map and a list of precincts was available for voters to look at before they voted on that 5-district map, as it was in the voter's guide, and I have it in front of me right now. It was page 122 and 123. So I appreciate the desire to stay close, keep the maps close to what voters just voted on and not change it. And I think I'm probably hitting my 3 minutes now. So thank you for letting me speak. And again, thank you for all your work.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Kristen, are there any other public comments?
I do not see any others, so I think that is all.
Okay, good, thank you. What's next? Public comment. Presentation by Redistricting Master. I don't know, Paul, do you have anything you want to present?
Yes, I wanted to follow up on a few things from last meeting.
Go.
Okay, I'll need permission to share my screen. There we go. All right. All right. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
So, thank you. So as mentioned, I wanted to follow up on a few things that were brought up at the last meeting. The first item was the document from Chuck Green, the 2014 map of the 5-district plan. I seen that. I was not involved in the development of that 2014 map, but on seeing that, I went looking and found the GIS layer that was used to make that map, to make that PDF map, and that's what you're seeing in front of you here is the 2014 5-district plan. So I just wanted to share that with you. That's a little more cleaned up versus the original document. Also, so with that, we can then make maps showing the changes, or really compare the 2014 map with what the Charter Review Commission proposed in 2021, or May of 2021. That's what you're seeing here with the red lines would be the update made by the Charter Review Commission.
And then Paul, that's also, not only is that the map the Charter Review Commission proposed, it's also the map the voters approved, correct?
Yes, 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 that's the one that was in the voters pamphlet or voters book. All right, and then let's see, I just want to keep going here with the, again, I'll just scroll through some of the alternatives. This is alternative A2 with the Charter Review 5 council map. Alternative B, B2. Then regarding Morgan, something Morgan said last meeting was brought up the topic of the number of voter precincts that are changed or kind of in the works of changed by alternative. He was correct. I think he stated that there are 30 voter precincts changed by alternative A2 and 12 by alternative B2. And I just want to provide a visual representation of that. Here's A2.
Paul, do you have the number of people there as well?
I do. Let's see, I have it here. Yeah. Again, looking at those voter precincts for alternative A2 and the 30 precincts, about 47,000 people really in the area in the pink here would be moved around. And the other alternative, B2, you see here, 12 precincts and about 14,800 people.
So those numbers again, Paul, 47,000 people moved under A2 and how many under B2?
14,800.
47,000, 15,000. So about 3 times as many moved under the Plan A as under the Plan B.
Yes. And that is it.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Paul, but at the last meeting, Juan had some observations or questions about that, and I wasn't quite following it. But Juan, did you have any questions about the statements that Paul just made right there regarding the number of people moved to make the 2 plans work in terms of the population?
No questions. He just answered related. I just mentioned that we didn't know. You know, those 30 precincts moved to 12 precincts moved. You know, it could have been the same amount of population, and Paul just answered that that's a no. Right? So agreed.
Right. So that's all I have. Again, just kind of following back or follow up on the Friday meeting.
Good. Well, thank you, Paul. So I think next on the agenda was just go to the order. Is that right, Kristen? You put the agenda back up there. Kristen, can you put the, there we are.
There we go.
Schedule of future meetings.
Mhm.
So we are scheduled, we had previously scheduled a meeting to get public comment on the plan submitted by the redistricting master. As I hope you know, the master, you like that, Paul? Paul Newman, the master, has submitted 2 plans. And as I said, we've been scheduled for a public meeting this Wednesday at 6 o'clock. I believe we're also scheduled for a meeting after that public meeting to consider the public comments on a plan. Does anyone have comments on that?
I do.
Go, Janet.
All right. I want to go back and put on my I went to law school hat and read what section 6.6 says of the redistricting plan. And that is the charter part. It says the redistricting master shall draw a redistricting plan for the county and submit the plan to the committee for adoption. And so he's drawn one and the Republicans have drawn another, but the charter says only one plan. And therefore, I think it's inappropriate at the public hearing to present two plans. And I know you tried to get us to vote to get, 4 of us to agree on one plan, which didn't happen. But it still puts Paul on the spot because as the redistricting master, he has to put forth his plan.
Well, I did have a discussion of that with our legal counsel and was advised that there would be no prohibition against Paul putting more plans to us, submitting more plans to us than are required as a minimum by the charter, but I'm stepping out beyond my legal. I don't have a law degree, but Amanda, would you like to speak to this?
Not specifically on the record.
Okay.
At this point, the master has presented two maps, and the chair has opted to move forward with public comment on those two maps.
Thank you. Well, I think not just the chair, but there's been support for a public meeting. No, I guess no. I'm not sure to what extent we did not discuss the public meeting. I just kind of set it out there that this is scheduled. Mm-hmm. So I guess I will. I would like to see us have a public meeting on and the two plans being presented to the public for their comment. And I guess I'm hoping that that input from the public will cause this committee to find 4 votes to send a plan to the council.
I have a question. Is it possible that we could actually get a written opinion from the Clark County office that that sending 2 plans complies with the charter before we actually have that meeting? I know what Amanda said, but I think it should be reviewed by more than one lawyer.
You can request client advice. It would have to be a majority of the vote, and it's going to come from me.
And it's not going to come by Wednesday, I doubt.
That's correct. I think in general, the point is that you can have a public meeting, a public hearing, quite frankly, at any point of the process, if you just want to get public input. There's nothing that says that if there's some change that that one map can't go forward, but I don't see that the charter is prohibitive of 2 maps.
Or prohibitive of a meeting to get public comment on 2 maps.
That's the more important point, is that there isn't anything that says that you can't have a public hearing to discuss the maps.
But I guess again, I would like to hear from the public on these maps. If there's not a majority of the committee that shares my view, then I guess we'll have to think about where we go forward from that there, if anywhere.
Well, I do believe we should hear from the public.
Okay.
I just disagree with the process of putting forth 2 maps rather than 1.
Okay. Others?
I mean, that would bring up a question for me that, it's not just that Paul comes up with a map. I'm sure there was a process below Paul to come up with a map, and then he's the one that presents the one map. And that's what I'm hearing as far as the law, right? If I'm wrong, then.
Want to say that again, if you would?
Janet read the law, right? The law states that Paul needs to take up a map. But what's the process for him taking up a map? Did he just come up with his own map and then send it up? That would make the redistricting committee kind of moot point. So I think from what if I was to assume what's below that law, it's that there was a process to come up with a bunch of different maps, and eventually Paul, whatever was agreed on, then Paul takes that one map up, right? I don't think it's saying that Paul makes the decision on what map needs to go out.
Well,
Am I wrong on that?
yeah, I think that's a subject for later discussion, as to.
Well, I think I mean, beg to differ a little bit, but I think it's a topic of discussion right now. Someone brought it up.
Yeah. But I guess the reason I say that is because we are where we are. We have two maps from the redistricting master. We can't pretend we only have one map. We have two maps from the redistricting master. That's why I say that one, not mean no disrespect at all there, but.
Oh, no, I didn't take it as that. I'm just trying to get the process and the method right here. And I don't want anything to be left behind just because.
Yeah. Well, so what are your thoughts on a public meeting where those two maps are presented to the public for comments?
I think as Amanda mentioned, I mean, as far as the public comment section piece, I don't think we're limited to one map. I think that would be kind of not what people would expect, right? If we had multiple maps, then they probably want to discuss it, and then I think their comments as to what map they think is right would be best. And then we could take just the one map that they commented on up to the committee, but without, we can't just take a map up there and then, what are they going to comment on? There's nothing for them to discern against, right? We don't like the map or something. It's got to be something else to play with.
So I think I'm hearing from you, Juan, that you have a preference of going forward with a public meeting on Wednesday to present the two maps.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Clarification, the meeting is on Wednesday or Thursday?
It's Thursday.
Oh,
Thursday. Thank you for clarifying. It is Thursday at 6 o'clock. You're giving me a heart attack.
sorry, my bad.
I looked at that. I was like, wait a minute. I was looking at the schedule on my screen. I was like, wait a minute, that's a Thursday.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Sorry.
Thursday at 6 o'clock.
Yeah. So Kamal, are you okay with that? Doing that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Morgan?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so let's schedule future meetings. And I guess
Actually, I do have a clarifying question. If we have a meeting with the two maps, does that qualify as the required public comment meeting, or is this a separate public meeting? So if, like, let's say we have the meeting on Thursday, we get 4 votes on Monday, or whenever we get 4 votes, do we then need to have another public meeting for public comment with a final map?
This is where the attorney will step in. I would recommend having another public meeting once, if there's a decision on a map, I would recommend having another public hearing to allow just to follow that process, have just another public meeting, another hearing to have that final kind of presentation of this is what's happening, and then we can move forward with that. But I think did we set another, and maybe I'm wrong in this, we didn't set another public hearing, did we, for this? Okay.
So Amanda, you're saying that because we presented 2 maps, if we settle on one map, we have to then have another public hearing to get more comment.
I think you need to have some sort of presentation of the final map so that people understand and know what it is. So I think you could, I mean, you're going to have a vote on it, right? We don't have the scheduled vote.
Yeah, we do actually, I think. We have,
So
we have a meeting scheduled
we
after
have
the
one
public.
settled for the 13th.
Yeah, we have a meeting scheduled after the public meeting. I know, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I had a question. I mean, how that set in stone are we with the 31st? I mean, I know that's that, but there's been delaying factors beforehand that I think have pushed things out this far. So I don't know if there's a process to maybe ask for some more time, like a week or 2, nothing crazy.
So there isn't a mechanism, a specific mechanism statutorily or anything like that in place for asking for an extension. What we have been what has been recommended to us is to follow the process as far as providing public input and that sort of thing. And if it ultimately ends up carrying over into January, it ends up carrying over into January, but we want to follow kind of the charter steps as far as providing public input. So if it goes over January, especially for the council piece of it, because that's what we're looking at right now, we are recommending to follow the process more than trying to follow the deadline. As far as we can tell, we haven't really seen many, there isn't anything written into the statute as far as if you miss the deadline, this is what happens sort of thing. So I think as long as we can show, yes, number one, to your point, Juan, we had some delays moving forward, but also that we've been doing this process all along. It's not like we've been, you all have been sitting on your laurels just waiting for something to happen. You know, we've been taking the necessary steps. I think we're comfortable with that argument, I guess, moving forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I'm just saying there's a big, huge elephant in the room with the census numbers coming in delayed. And I don't want to miss something just because that big delay. So, I mean, if it would have been some other type of delay, I'd be like, okay, yeah, sure. I mean, we can't delay, but that was pretty major.
And there was a
That,
second
and I
delay.
think the other issue that we faced was the 5 versus 4 district. I mean, there wasn't much that this committee could do without that determining factor. So.
Right. And that's where I'm going from. I mean, I originally said I only wanted to start working on 4 because we didn't have all that info. So, but noted. Thank you.
So Greg, going back to my point, it is still my recommendation to just hold an additional public meeting. If there is a decision on a final map, I would still recommend doing another public meeting.
Okay, because I thought I heard you say that if this committee could not agree on a map, that the council could adopt a map without another public hearing, or they could adopt it at the same time as a public hearing.
I don't know that I said that.
Okay.
If this committee can't reach a decision on a map, then it would move. My understanding is that it would likely then move to the council for decision.
Okay.
Which would necessitate an additional public hearing from this group.
All right. So it sounds like we're going to go ahead with a public hearing on Thursday. Thank you. And then we have a meeting scheduled after that as well. So moving on for the good of the order, whenever I come into a situation where I find someone who has a different point of view than myself, I struggle, or I try to work hard to understand how is it that someone's looking at something differently than I'm looking at it. And I think I had a bit of I came to a bit of an understanding over the weekend. So I'd like, if I could, ask Juan and Kamal a question or two about that to help me understand your perspective. And I guess it's just this. Kamal, you had made the comment, or maybe it was Juan. Huge population change. We just cleared it up. Kamal, you said District 4, there is gerrymandering. Something needs to be done there. Juan, you made the comment that voters do not know where the community members lived, that voters got little information. So my question is, do you have the view that the Charter Review Commission made a mistake when they created that 5-district map?
Yeah.
Let you go first, Kamal.
Well, Greg, we definitely do. We feel that, first of all, let's make sure we put this in perspective. The Charter Review Board consists of all Democrats. Let's make sure we put that out there. What's also
true.
What's also put in the fact that there was no opposing arguments in the pamphlets for this map. Me and Juan even spoke, we have been speaking off and on, and what should have happened first was there should have been some type of thing put on the ballot to asked voters, do we even want a 5th district? That should be having first, but that's out of the question now. But we feel that it was definitely orchestrated to basically gerrymander. And that's how everybody I spoke with saw that. You see,
Okay, so
that's
so
where we're coming from. So
okay, thank you, Kamal. So you
Can I add to that?
yeah,
I just want to make sure I understood what Kamal said, Juan. So Kamal, you're saying you fundamentally the Charter Review Commission made a mistake, is what you're saying.
yes.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, Juan. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll second that. I mean, I won't go into whether someone did it intentionally or not. I think Kamal put it well. It was a mistake. Maybe they didn't look at certain things. And the reason I'm saying that is because when I looked at the map of 4 and I looked at the map of 5, I'm like, you have all this space around here, yet you want to move, you know, a boundary over to 164th. Okay, fine. I've gone along with a lot of things. To add to that, what I saw when I put the 2 maps together, the 5 map and stuff, and I made my comment last time that the voters didn't have all the info. I'm a first-time voter. I just became a citizen a few years ago. I went and read that ballot, and that's why I said that. The voters didn't have all the info. I went and reread it today. I must have reread it about 20 times. Nowhere in there did I find any mention that the numbers were estimated. Because we didn't have the census data. The census data changed everything. In essence, I mean, there was a 5% problem there. So if I'm just a new voter, let's just say I never got involved with this and I never even read anything about politics. I would have just like been, oh, they're saying there's 5, they already got the boundaries. They did their due diligence, and I'm gonna say, yay, I give them credit, they did it right. Kamal just said that they made a mistake. The voters didn't know that. So that's.
Okay, so thank you. So Juan, you would agree the Charter Review Commission made a mistake as well, then you'd agree with that?
Yeah.
So thank you both. And then would you also, both of you, say then that the voters made a mistake when they, in their decision?
Well, the voters can't make a mistake if they don't have all the info. Right?
They didn't have all the information, Greg. Said that we sat in on that advisory meeting. There was no opposing arguments. Saw that. And if they had all of the information to know, they would have made a better decision. You see that?
If they would have made that decision knowing all this info that I know now, I'd be like, yeah, great, go ahead. I have a couple of questions. I know, Janet, you got your hand up, but can I go first before I lose my train of thought?
No.
Yeah, so I got a couple of questions. What was the impetus for putting up the 5 district on the ballot measure with defined borders if they knew that they didn't have all the info? Second, why didn't they turn around? Okay, we don't have the census data, and like Kamal said, just put it up as a question. Do we want 5 districts or not? I think I agree at first. Yeah, maybe 5 districts makes sense, right? But if that was the only question on the ballot, I would have said yeah, and then someone else, I think me at this point, redistricting would have been like, okay, now we got to go figure out what those 5 districts are. It's like they put the cart before the horse, right? And they're trying to push this cart without knowing that the cart's, got something in front of it and it's missing a wheel.
So if I'm sorry, I wasn't quite finished with my.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. That's fine. So when you said the voters can't make a mistake, Kamal, I'm not sure I heard from you your answer to the question about if you thought the voters made a mistake here. I think I heard. How would you?
I was just saying that if there was opposing argument in the pamphlet, I think they would have made a better decision. That's all I'm saying.
So that you'd say the voters made a bad decision
without having the opposing arguments. That's correct.
Okay, and then so with that, is it how I interpret that? And feedback to me if you would. But how I interpret that is you see your plan A as fixing those mistakes.
I think that's where we ended up leading to. I mean, we tried every which form, and okay, we're just going to deal with compactness, and we're going to deal with population and see how it goes. And as I was saying earlier, I was looking at the map of the 4 districts and the map of 5, and I'm like, why didn't it just lop off the top of 3 on down, right? Coming back to RCW 29, whatever it is, that section that I keep on mentioning, it says population can't be a factor in favoring or disfavoring a candidate, right? So when they moved the line over to 164th, they disfavored someone, right? For population reasons. Let me just finish, Greg.
Yeah.
And then I looked at that and I'm like, well, why didn't you just lop off the top that doesn't have Karen Bowerman in that district or something and try to gain that whole scenario? That line to me says that no matter what, you don't mess around with that person, where that person is sitting, whether you know their district or not, right? Because if nobody knew that district and they just move over, you know, without knowing that Karen Bowerman was there and they moved there over for population reasons, that's a moot point then.
And Kamal, I think you were saying that Plan A is fixing this mistake.
So yes.
Yeah. So, and you know, Juan, it's an interesting comment you make, because I agree a little differently than you, but the Charter Review Commission did make a mistake when they started talking about where elected officials live. When they start creating maps showing where the elected officials live, and then that's a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think they made a mistake. However, I also think when they realized that they're making that mistake, they walked away from it. But I just, you know.
Right, but they walked away when there was two other solutions to the problem, I think.
Okay.
Lopping off that top. Yeah, you know, like I said, I don't want to blame anybody. They made a mistake. I'm gonna give everybody the benefit of the doubt that it wasn't intentional or not. But I personally, I don't want to speak for Kamal, I can't live with furthering a mistake.
Okay.
Agree.
Did I hear?
I second
Janet
that.
I can't see Janet, but did Janet have a
Oh,
hand?
okay. Well, I wanted to speak if I can.
Please.
Now, when the Charter Commission was formed, anyone could run for these nonpartisan positions. It's true that maybe more people who were Democrats ran than Republicans, but the Republicans had just as much opportunity to put their names on the ballot. In fact, someone like Liz Pike, who is a strong Republican, she dropped off the commission. So it's not like it wasn't supposed to be partisan, and you know, you cannot call Chuck Green a Democrat. So it is what it is. When the voters elected these people, they took a map that was decided years ago. So it's not like they just kind of came out of nowhere to do it. Now, one of the issues I have, particularly with this issue with Karen Bowerman, okay, Karen Bowerman is 74 years old. Her husband is 79 years old. When it comes time to run for re-election, he's going to be 81 and she'll be 2 years older.
Can I stop? Should we be talking about age here? I'm sorry. We got a president that's. No. I'm sorry. We shouldn't. Okay, sorry.
I live in a 55 plus community where people from Camas have just moved into my street, up the street, because they wanted to be in a smaller home. So to plan a map that anticipates that Karen Bowerman is still going to live there or be interested in running in 2 years creates a really squiggly map that may be part of this county's history for 5 to 10 years to come. And it's just not a very good map. You can't just look at where she is and say, we want to have her in there.
Yeah,
she's welcome to move into Fairway Village.
Sorry, let me interject. I think that's what I was mentioning in our first meetings, that we can only go by the data that we have now. I mean, if something in law says that Karen can't run after the age of 70, let's say, okay, I'll be right there with you, throw her out. But that's not where we're at, Janet.
I hope not, Juan. I hope not.
No, I hope not either. I mean, I don't want anybody to be discriminated against, right, for their age, right?
I mean, I hope you wouldn't be on the side of people who are over 70 can't run for office.
Yeah. I got my mom that's still kicking my butt, and she's 77, right? So but I you know, not to be rude, I don't want to sound rude. I said it very early on. We need to look at what's required. The census data was a requirement. That's why I questioned why they moved forward with trying to get 5 districts here, and why they moved on with telling people what the map was going to look like. I questioned, you know, what the impetus was.
Well, there's a reason to have 5 districts versus 4.
So
Right, there's
I-
a reason, but if we don't have all the data, that reason can be,
So Juan, I
sorry.
I will jump in a little bit on that. When you ask the voters to establish a new council district, you have to tell them the boundaries of that district. That's
Oh, I absolutely agree.
that's just a requirement. You can't
Right.
say,
Yeah, I'm not saying that you can't do that, but so then why the impetus to continue, right? Either the question should have been do you guys want 5 districts? And apparently from what you're telling me, we can't do that. So you had to give them a map, but we didn't, there's no way of knowing what that map was going to look like without the census data. And someone trying to take an estimate, I'm sorry, they can be really good at that. But as we found out, those numbers were all way off. There's no way that we could have left the 5% disparity in a district just because it meets the requirement that we can move this line over to another place.
all right. I'd like to, unless someone else has another comment, I'd like to share share a screen to share with you something I've been noodling with, but I can't figure out how to share my screen. Tina or Kristen, can you? Oh, there we go.
Yes, it should be at the bottom. I think I gave you
Yay,
privileges.
thank you. Let's see. Can everyone see that?
No.
No, we see you. If you have 2 screens, you got to put what you're trying to share in the main screen.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not gonna be able to do this. I don't know that I've ever shared screens with.
There
There
you
we
go.
go.
No, you got a black. Oh, there you go. Okay.
Can you see that now?
Mm-hmm.
Ah, so, and just thinking about where we are, I do tend to kind of think using spreadsheets. And what are we supposed to be doing? And as we've all talked about, we're supposed to be using the criteria set forth in statute to do this redistricting. And notwithstanding people's views about how the 5 districts were established, my own view is you start from what is currently there, and you work from that. And then we all have at one point or another said, not only are we willing to use, do we think we should use what's in statute, we also think we should do something that's in alignment with what the voters approved. I mean, we've all said at one point or another, we think the voters, ultimately, their decisions should be respected. And then we've also agreed to use existing precinct boundaries. Neither of those last 2 are not in law, but as a committee, I think we have said that those are the criteria we're going to use. So, I'm sure we've all been in situations where we were hiring someone, or we were issuing a contract for a vendor, and we set forth criteria, we put weight on that criteria, and then we scored the vendor or the applicants against that criteria. So it just occurred to me that I would do the same thing with that criteria that I just described against the 2 maps, A2 and B2, using the information that's been provided to us that's been made available to us. So we've got population, we've got compactness, contiguous, favor or disfavor, racial or political group. Now I'm going to come back to that. Natural boundaries, community of interest, using existing precinct boundaries, in alignment with the voter approved map. Then I just for my own, each of us, I think, unlike in a corporate or government setting, each of us could put our own weighting on those criteria. So for me, population was very, very important. I want an equal population. And Juan, Kamal, you guys have said repeatedly, population is very important to you. Having equal population is a big deal.
Yes.
The other really big deal to me is alignment with the voter approved map. As you said, someone said, Juan, you said, voters ultimately make a decision, and their decision should be respected. Voters are right. There's not a judge in the state who's going to take that voter approved 5 council map and say, oh, that was wrong. We need to redo that because you the voters made the wrong decision. You might think the Charter Review Commission made a mistake when they created the 5 district map, but once the voters put their approval on it, it's a done deal.
Yeah. Can I jump in, Greg? If you don't
Sure.
mind? Yeah. So you're looking at 10, right? And that's 20%. I lumped that one in basically with number 8 in favor and disfavor. So the original committee, I think what we're saying why they made a mistake is because they didn't see that there was it seemed to me like when everybody talks about this one, they always go to the favor side. They don't want you moving in your guy into your place. But there's another side of that. If you move that person out, it's a disfavor to that person, right? And that's why I'm saying instead of moving the boundary east to west, they could have also moved it, north to south,
Right.
and accomplished the same thing with the population.
Right. So here's where we get back to the circular argument, though, Juan, because you will continue to go back to say the Charter Review Commission made a mistake, and you want to fix that mistake. As you both said, Plan A2 fixes the mistake the Charter Review Commission made. My view is once the voters have adopted that, that is the rule of the land. That's where we start from. We don't go back and try to fix mistakes that the Charter Review Commission made. What we do is we react to we respect what voters decided. There are some people in this country that think voters made a mistake when they elected Joe Biden.
Yeah, and they also did when they picked Trump, right?
We're not going to go back and fix that mistake. It's the will of the voters that Joe Biden and Donald Trump be president. It's the will of the voters in Clark County that they have this 5 district map.
I don't mean to disrespect Greg, but no law has ever been gone back and figured out that previous to the law that made the law pass was in error, so they had to fix it. If you can point a case to me on that, I'll agree with you on this, but that never happened. We saw something that came about.
Put it this way, Juan. I will bet you as much money as you'd like to bet that if someone were to take this 5 district map approved by the voters and challenge it, they would lose.
So that's me.
So you think of someone could challenge the decision of the voters to create that 5 district map.
The voters didn't have all the info. I keep on saying that. I don't know why we keep on discarding. They're the most important part. To me, they got loaded up with something that was, I'll keep it simple. It wasn't very good.
So
right? It lacked a lot of information as to what this was going to do, and the foundational data was not there. And as we found out when we entered the foundational data, things changed. There's no way that they voted for something correct.
So let's try that one. You go in front of it. You go in front of a judge. You say, "Hey, voters approved this 5 council map, and I want that to be kicked out. I want you, the judge, to kick this map out because voters didn't have enough information."
Okay. So they can kick it out, or we can have a re-election.
And
I don't know if it'll be successful. I would give him all the points that Kamal and myself have been bringing up, and let him make the decision. If he overrides what we're thinking, hey, we tried, right? But I can't let something go that I see is wrong and Kamal sees is wrong, and continue with something that could be wrong. Okay. Now, if the judge overrides me, I'm not that shy that I won't be able to stand in front of the judge and tell him my points of view. I've had to do it before. So.
Yeah, I understand. I guess I'm just trying to get you to respond to my question. If you go in front of a judge and say this decision by the voters should be set aside, and if your your argument is voters didn't have enough information, you believe that's going to be a compelling argument for a judge to set aside what the voters decided?
Yes, it should be.
Okay. Now I can't get back to stop sharing my screen. So, if I had to do this over, I would have tried to get the committee to agree on a kind of a scoring criteria like that. I'm not sure it would have changed anything, but I would have liked to have seen that. And I did have a hard time with that favor and disfavoring political group, frankly, because I just had a hard time even bringing that into the discussion myself. And I did, since we are on that topic, though, I do now better understand this statement that the Charter Review Commission gerrymandered the map because it ended up with 3 councilors in 1 district.
I don't want to call it gerrymandering because that puts them on the defensive. I like Kamal said, it's a mistake. Like I said, I don't know if they did it intentionally or not. Maybe they didn't see what I saw in all their iterations. So I want to leave it as, I want to make sure not to say gerrymandering. It was a mistake, period.
Okay, we'll not say gerrymandering. That resulting the Charter Review Commission's actions that resulted in 3 councilors living in 1 district was a mistake. Well, it was called a mistake. Okay. All right. That's the best I've got. I'm going to also say I voted last time for Plan A because I just wanted to move it forward. I regret that vote. It was a mistake on my part. I regret that vote. I would welcome an opportunity to vote again, and I would not vote for A2 because I do believe, because of the various comments that have been made here, it's clear to me that Plan A2 was created in order to put to correct the mistake, as people have said, to take Karen Bowerman and Gary Mevagy and put them in 2 different council districts instead of the 1 district they're in currently. So I regret that vote. I wish I could take it away.
Okay, I just wanted to say we started off looking at population, and that was the side effect of it.
Like
I would like to make a brief comment, which is I think it's been brought up multiple times how bad the original 5-district map was, but being off by only 5,000 people is, well, not as good as some of the other maps that we've seen in terms of population, is not a particularly bad outcome. Like,
it's not a bad outcome, but if you look at the first line in the RCW, it states that you got to get the population as close as possible.
Yeah, but I think
so.
If we're,
you know,
hold on, you gave me a hard time last time for interrupting you. So I think the thing that we need to also consider is that while we talk about this map as being, you know, oh, unacceptable, I do believe that actually if it were adopted wholesale without any of our changes, it probably would be, I mean, is it ideal? No. But is it a map that would be thrown out because of unequal population? I'm actually not convinced that it would be. I think that the population difference is not huge. You know, it's not, again, I would like to see B2 or even the B map, but I also don't think that, you know, we should be talking about the original 5-district map as if it has no merit, as if it couldn't stand on its own. You know, our charge was to improve that map, or to improve the map that exists, which then ended up being the map that was passed by the voters, not necessarily for us to, you know, go and have a whole resale change because it was off by only 5,000 people in 1 district. You know, I think, again, not ideal, but not a massive deviation from the population.
I agree. But then why am I here?
Right.
Well, these were 2 different, you know, decisions. You know, the existence of the redistricting committee was created in what, 2014. The 5-district map was just approved.
So I pass it on this. One of the things that just I still haven't gotten an answer from anybody is what was the impetus to do this now, knowing that they didn't have the census data? I mean, it's like me trying to design a circuit and then they're going to tell me what the inputs to that circuit is. So how can I design it? Done.
It's been explained multiple times, Juan, that they used the information available to them at the time, the best information available at the time.
Right, but that's not the info. I mean, we know that when we got the actual information, there was changes that had to be made.
So as Chuck Green said, it was put forward the best information available at the time, and then it gets quote unquote fine tuned as the better information becomes available. I mean,
that's what we're doing. That's what I'm doing. I see it as a fine tuning. I don't see it as this. I mean, if we want, we can go lop off the rest of District 3 on off and see if that brings in the population as we would like to see it. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen, right?
So, Greg, let me ask you this question. Did the voters vote on actually implementing a fifth district? Because I moved here in 2017, so maybe there's something that I missed. Was that did the voters vote on that?
In 2021, they did.
Implement a fifth district?
In 2021, yeah, just 2 months ago, a month ago.
No, I'm talking about before. Did they vote on implementing a fifth district? Actually,
No.
putting that to the voters, saying, "Do you want a fifth district to be implemented into the county?"
No.
Was that a thing that? Oh, okay.
So does that mean that there was like a 6-year?
I didn't want to assume that was something that had not been done. That's all.
So someone just mentioned that map got created in 2014. So why did they go through basically three elections without bringing it up?
So I was saying that
Not
the
interrupt that.
redistricting committee was created in 2014.
Okay. Right. So it took them 6 years. I mean,
Well,
if that's the answer, that's fine. I'll live with that.
We only do redistricting committees after every census, so that's why it hadn't happened before.
So the census data is key.
I'll chime in here briefly that, right, redistricting does happen every 10 years with the census data. Personally, I'm also working on projects with other election districts, such as the Port of Ridgefield, the Port of Vancouver, to redistrict their commissioner boundaries, much as like we're doing here. So it's kind of a season that comes around every 10 years once the census data becomes available.
You know, I gotta say, I'm not sure there's any reasoning, any purpose in having a public meeting on this stuff. I don't see. I'm not going to vote for Plan A. I don't. At this point, I find it very unlikely that there's going to be 4 votes for either one of these plans. What's the point of having a public meeting? Is anyone going to get any? Is there any information, any comment from the public? I guess I asked the other 4 members of the committee. What information, what comment might you hear from a member of the public that would cause you to change your mind and vote for the plan you haven't voted for up to this point?
To me, a majority, if they all said, yeah, we're willing to override certain things and that's what we voted for and that's good, then I got to live with that. But we don't know that.
So
Wait, it's you and Kamal that don't like the B plan, whether it's B2 or B.
It's not that we don't like the plan. It doesn't meet our goals, right? What we came up with.
It doesn't meet your goal. It doesn't meet your goal of correcting the mistake the Charter Review Commission made.
Yeah, and getting the population in sync and stuff. Because if they made a legitimate mistake before and didn't look at other ways to not get rid of Karen Bowerman, like that section 4 bullet D says, not to disfavor or favor anyone, then that's fine. If 75% of the people at these public comments says, no, we don't care, we just want to go with B2 or the original map, and that's fine, and it disregards a lot of other things that we're looking at as the rules of looking at stuff, then I'm happy with it. The voters made a choice, like you said, but I'm not hearing that the voters have said that yet in the comment, right? Why bring a map up to a bunch of people to get comments and not expect to hear that, right? What do they agree with, right? I mean, if we made the map look like Mickey Mouse and they all agree with it and they voted for it,
I just want to add, Greg, and you know this, when I sat in on that advisory meeting we had about a couple months ago, there was a lot of Republicans that were very upset with there not being any opposing argument in the pamphlet. Very upset about that, but
How come the Republicans didn't show up at some of these meetings when the Charter Review was doing their discussions and taking public comment?
Very good question. Well, again, I guess that's on us, but
as you might know, Kamal, I've heard a bit of that myself, that some people were disappointed they didn't meet the deadlines to be a member of the con committee. I guess my question would be to them, did they make their interest known to the Charter Review Commission? did they attend any of the meetings and let their interest be known to be in the con committee? Did they, so if they let the Charter Review committee know they want to be on the committee, then they were not included in the committee, then that's a problem. So if that happened, then they should contact, that's unfortunate. I don't believe that's what happened.
I mean, were they even asked, I mean, I'm going back, sorry, I'm so new at all this, but were they even asked what their political leanings were? Because right from what I heard is they were supposed to be independent. Right?
Who's asked who what?
The people, you know, when they were like, how can I put it? So when there was requests for people to join the redistricting committee, was that part of the question? Are you Democrat? Are you Republican?
No, it was nonpartisan election.
You said
exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So we keep on coming back to this point that there's no Republicans in there, and that's fine. I can live with that. All we're saying is that there was probably a mistake, whether there were Republicans on there or not. It doesn't matter. They might have. That's why I'm getting at the point. I'm not trying to say anybody gerrymandered, because I don't want to put that scenario in the defensive. I want to say whether it was all Republicans or it was all Democrats, there was a mistake made somewhere. Maybe someone didn't see what I saw right off the bat. That's where we're at.
It was all Democrats on the Charter Review Board.
Okay, well,
we're not all Democrats. Chuck Green is
we're getting a long ways away from the subject of our committee. So I heard from Juan that if we had, I mean, I'm not going to hold you to this, Juan, but he said it's 75% people.
Hold me to it. Because if you're saying that, if I'm saying that the voters are the ones that count, and they come back and say that, like I said, if we could have made a Mickey Mouse map and they come back and say, yeah, this is what we want, that's what we want, right? I'll agree with that. We don't know that, right? From what I see is they made a decision, and with all the information that they have, they were right. They wanted 5 districts and they wanted it to look the way it did. But you know, not all the data was in. And the specific thing that we are supposed to be focusing on was not in. I don't know if someone saw that before and maybe they made their estimates based on that, but they weren't the final numbers.
You know, again, we're kind of rehashing stuff we've gone through before. But what I heard you say is if a large number of people came to the public meeting or provided comment at the public meeting and said, boy, we like B2, you would vote for B2. That's one person. Frankly, I'd be hard pressed to, for myself, I can't imagine hearing from the public that is going to change my mind about voting again, not voting for A2 in this situation. Given that my understanding of the motive, I really don't like to ascribe motivation to legislation, but in this instance, when the sponsors of the legislation have been so honest about their motivation, I have to take that into account. And so when the sponsors of this have told me their goal is to fix the mistake that was made by the Charter Review Commission, I have to think about that in the context of this. And for that reason alone, I'm going to vote no against A2. If I did not know that, I would vote for A2 because it's not a crazy, terrible plan, but I'm not going to vote for A2 because I've been told that it's an attempt to fix a mistake by the Charter Review Commission, even though the voters, 70% of the voters or something, said, yeah, we like this. We want to adopt this. So I'm not, I'm fine with not having a public meeting, but we got one person that does want a public meeting. Janet, Kamal, Morgan, what do you guys want to do?
We can cancel the public hearing. We can cancel it.
I agree. You cancel it.
We can cancel it.
Janet,
I guess I want to know what happens if we cancel it. Where are we going from there?
I think we're done.
I think we should have a public hearing just to give the voters an opportunity. Hasn't it been put in the Columbian or something?
What's that?
Tina, did you put that in the Columbian notice about the meeting?
It's been notified. Yeah, it's been noticed. Morgan, what's your view?
I mean, I guess I would like to hear what the public has to say, but it does seem like we're probably not going to be adopting either of these plans.
All right.
I don't
Well,
know if there's a ton of value.
I'm showing how
I mean, I guess
wishy-washy I am. I'm willing to invest 2 more hours of my life in this. I'm willing to have a meeting as well. So that's 3 of us. I think Juan, I forget how you. No, I think you ultimately. Anyway, there's 3 of us that say we want to have a meeting on Thursday. So let's have a meeting on Thursday and go from there. So, anything else for the good of the order?
How is the meeting going to be conducted? The public hearing on Thursday? How will that be conducted? And what
It's
will be
online. Is that your question, Paul? It's going to be online.
Well, will it be run much like a committee meeting where you're fielding calls and I'd like to know what my role will be in that meeting.
So good question. I guess my thought was that I would lay out the 2 plans, talk about the criteria we've been using, and then kind of just open it up for public comment. What
good.
other, does someone else have other suggestions, requests?
And really what I'm asking is, what do I need to be prepared for?
You know, I don't think you really need to be prepared for anything, Paul, myself, but I don't know what others think.
Display maps, maybe.
I mean, we have put a number of documents on our on the county website on our meeting schedules. So if people want to dig into the sort of the details of this, much of that information is available on our on the website on the various meetings that we've had. And if people want more or have questions, they can certainly contact, me or us, and we can respond to that. But yeah, Paul, I don't think that there's I don't think you need to get up and be a featured speaker at this thing.
Right. All right. Well, I will have maps on hand and prepared to share a screen. Go from there.
I mean, if members of the committee have ideas, requests on how this thing gets structured, I encourage you to maybe just forward that to me, and I'll work to create a program. But otherwise, my intention otherwise is to simply say, here are the 2 maps. I mean, first, here's the criteria that the committee's been using. Here are the 2 maps that the master has submitted to us, and welcome comments.
Right.
Will we also make sure that there's the tables that we've had before that has the deviation from population?
That information's on our website.
Okay, great.
Compactness, the population deviations, communities of interest, all sorts of stuff.
Wouldn't it be helpful for Paul to be able to flash as much of this as possible on the screen? Only because there's some people that are going to be watching on TV and may not have computers.
To put the maps on the screen, Janet?
Yeah, whatever, like the tables or the maps. You know how like when we're doing a WebEx meeting, we're sharing screen. I just thought it might be helpful for some of the people who might be listening on TV or something like that to actually see some of the stuff.
Well, if you'd like, I can certainly put up on the share screen and show, each of those documents. Dan, I might suggest you look on our website, on the county website, under our where the county redistricting committee section is, and look under. If you look at each of the meetings we've had, you'll see documents. So if you think there's some specific documents that should be displayed during that meeting, let me know, and yeah, we'll get them teed up and we'll show them for sure. And anyone else too.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else?
Nope.
Do we have an attendee who has a hand raised? I just see that symbol.
I don't know. Do we? First
Hi.
one, do we have some?
Hi, I believe that was Miss Niles who gave the public comment earlier.
Okay.
I think her hand is
And-
just still up.
Okay. All right. Well, very good. Thanks, everyone. I guess we'll see you Thursday evening.
Okay.
Thursday evening.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.